Connecting ACO Community. I'm Derek Bermel. I'm the Artistic Director of the American Composers Orchestra, and Connecting ACO Community is made possible by the lovely Augusta Gross and the dashing Leslie Samuels. Thanks also to our staff, Lindsay Working, Aiden Feldkamp, Jay Jang, Stephanie Polonio, Jay House, Ed Yim, and Aled, who is bravely manning the various gadgets that allow us to be online today. Today, ACO is catching up with some very wonderful people. Singer ERIC O'Donovan and cellist extraordinaire ERIC Jacobsen, as well as composer Tanner Porter. Now, Tanner is in Queens, and ERIC and ERIC are joining us from the great state of Maine, and but normally in Brooklyn, just a few blocks away from me. The title of the piece you're going to hear today is Lila, You Are Not Alone. To our audience, please tell us where you are, maybe what you're doing. Well, you don't have to tell us what you're doing. Just tell us where you are. If you want, you can tell us what you're doing. But on StreamYard, I want to encourage you to use the chat button to talk to us and let us know things, and especially to ask questions of our performers and our composer. And you know what? If you wear headphones, you might have a slightly better experience. You don't have to. Don't rush away to get your headphones. But if you have them nearby, the sound will come in a little bit better. Welcome, Aoife, ERIC, and Tanner.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Aoife and ERIC, how are you? Is there anything you want to tell us about this piece before we hear it performed?
Well, we'll just say that we are new friends and huge admirers of Tanner Porter's work. We first became aware of her music through our mutual friend Gabriel Kahane, when we were kind of searching for somebody to collaborate with on a piece that we're planning on premiering next spring. And so this was an incredible opportunity for us to work together and do one of Tanner's pieces in this totally bizarre new way. ERIC and I have never had a piece written for us as a duo before. We are married, but we don't even really perform together all that often. So it's kind
We're a duo, but we're not a duo.
It was a really cool process to kind of become more intimately acquainted with Tanner's work in this strange time, and is making me very excited for future collaborations. And yeah, that's what I'll say.
Yeah, a bit of a silver lining in this time when so much of us are dispersed around the country, around the world, and not seeing each other so much as maybe a couple times the ability to build relationships. Obviously, ACO has done such an amazing job of doing that, bringing people together. And Tanner, we've talked a handful of times on the phone in the last year or so, but this was a very special way to get to know you. And Derek, we've seen you more in the last few months than in in the last few years. We've exchanged granola in Prospect Park, socially distanced granola exchange.
That really sounds way weirder than it is.
Oh yeah.
So.
I think there's a little bit of maybe a chat lag. Can
you guys hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Out there in the world, can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay, great.
Good.
Tanner, tell us. I'm not exactly sure what the audience is hearing, because I'm getting some of what you're saying. You all look great. You all look wonderful to me.
Thank you. Likewise.
Loving the visuals. But Tanner, can you tell us a little bit about this piece? It has a special meaning, as we found out when we were listening to it before.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just have to say, such a thank you to you, Derek, and to ACO for this amazing opportunity. It's such a joy. Aoife and ERIC, I've been aware of your careers for a while, and just I hope that I have not blubbered too hard, but I am huge fans of yours, and it's really a privilege to get to work with you. It's so funny, even having been aware of your work, there's just things that I projects that I'm still stumbling upon that I'm like, oh my gosh, they both had a hand in that, or one of them did. And that's such a cool thing about kind of the widespread careers that you have. So thank you for bringing beauty to so many different parts of our industry. Really appreciate it. And really, yeah, really a joy to get to work with you. So yeah, I'll just speak about the piece a little bit. Lila, You Are Not Alone. It's kind of based on a lot of conversations I've been having recently with friends and loved ones about mental health, which is always a really important conversation, but especially I think right now. And, you know, thinking about mental health discussions are not one size fits all, and it's, you know, a totally different circumstance for people. Everyone has their own comfort level and what they're willing to talk about. But for me, I know how important it's been in my own kind of journey with depression and anxiety to have conversations with friends where they basically say, you know, hey, tell me what's going on. I love you. I might know a little bit of what you're going through. You're not alone. Let's talk about it. And I kind of just wanted to bring a little bit of that sentiment to this piece and, you know, put that out into the world right now, that you're not alone. There's lots of people who are going through, you know, might be able to know some of what you're going through. And I thank you guys, Aoife and Eric, for handling it so delicately and so sensitively in the, you know, in working with you. And so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, actually, the words you just said more or less is what gave us the in to the piece, the thing that made the piece make sense a little bit more to us. We had a late night phone call a week or two ago and talked about like how, you know, what does the piece mean? And we were talking about, you know, technical things. We're like, should pizzicato, arco, things like that. Should it be louder, softer? And then you gave the words that are, of course, much more meaningful than, you know, necessarily all the technical directions that are needed, which was, you explained more or less what you just said. And we just, I mean, totally inspired. And also, and you know, like the pain of what you're talking about is so real. And
it is so real, but, oh, sorry.
Please.
It's so real, but it's also like, it's not a big deal. I wish that it was something that we all talked about more. You know, it's such a common thing that so many people are, I mean, it is a big deal, but it's common. And so just kind of clearing the air about that, I think, is important.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, let's go now to hear the world premiere of ERIC JACOBSEN and AOIFE O'DONOVAN performing Tanner Porter's Lila, You Are Not Alone.
tell me what you're feeling. Lila, tell me where you're going. I'll go there too. Lila, I love you. Always dragging like an anchor in water too deep for its length. I too have anchors that would hold me in water so heedlessly rising. Name it, Lila, won't you name it? It might ease the strength of that tide of yours. Oh, these moons, we didn't make them, but truly we might offer them weight and time enough to lay a claim on how we move through life. Sealed, riled into anger, assuming I am laying the blame on you. Lila, show me when the ache became something you believe you can't be. Without Lila, you are not alone. Lila, you are not
Oh, it's so beautiful, Tanner. Thank you so much for such
Oh,
a piece.
thank you so much for being so thoughtful with that performance. I was blown away, truly.
Thank you.
It's such a beautiful, subtle performance. Aoife, you're a singer songwriter yourself. I was driving over to Park Slope to get some cat food, not for myself. I mean, things haven't gotten that bad yet, but we'll see. But I as I was driving, your voice came on, and you were singing a song by Foray.
Oh, yeah.
Was on Chris Thiele's show, and you have such an incredible background at, singing all kinds of music. I never know what to expect from you next. Bluegrass, singing with the Punch Brothers and with Dave Douglas and Edgar Meyer, and and ERIC Jacobsen, all over the place. And how do you approach doing someone else's work? Because you yourself are such a creator and are so tied in performing to your own creative spirit.
I love, it's a great question, and thank you so much for the kind words, but it's not something I can say I've done a ton of in terms, singing music, especially music that was written for us, or at least when sent to us with us in mind. It's a challenge for sure. And actually there's so much about this piece specifically that I did kind of have to work with Tanner. And actually I think it's interesting because she sent this beautiful score, and there are parts of it that with the dynamic markings and with my voice, I felt like I had to, one part in particular, I had to switch the octave of, just because dynamically, and I think with the mood of the song, kind of the climax, the Lila, I Love You part, was initially written up the octave, but it just didn't really work with my style. I could sing the notes, but it just didn't sound right. It sounded like too shrill. And if I had sung the whole song in more of a classical style, I think it would have worked, but with the sort of folky style, to then be singing these high Fs in a really hushed whisper just doesn't, I don't really know how to do that very well. So I think
like
how
or something.
Sorry?
Crazy Schoenberg piece or something.
Yeah, actually we've had some fights about Schoenberg.
Don't bring it up.
Not my favorite.
Don't bring it up here. Don't bring.
But
bring it up.
But I think how I approach, I think collaboration is really one of my favorite things, and maybe that sounds totally cliched to say, but I really enjoy having a wide variety of things that I do musically. I think it's one of the things that keeps the life exciting and keeps the creativity flowing. I think it's really easy to get into a rut with any artistic endeavor that you are in. And for me, kind of constantly trying to be performing with other people, collaborating with other people, even just casual jams with other people within different styles, I think definitely helps my own songwriting. And I think also helps me become a more fully realized musician. And I would advise anybody who's kind of looking to get started in music, yeah, definitely seek focus, but don't be so focused that you fail to see what's right outside of your line of vision.
But I think an interesting thing that I've learned working at playing with Aoife, seeing her work in various of those, sundry groups that you mentioned, is something that I try to take back to, say, 50%, the body of repertoire that I most often do, say 50% of the year I'm playing like the standard classical repertoire from 1750 to 1950 or something. And, we think about Brahms, we think about Beethoven, whatever, a euphemism for a composer that we look to and put up on a pedestal. And of course, the idea of changing an octave in a symphony of Brahms is just not a thing. However, the idea of striving for the spirit of the composer, the spirit of the mood, the spirit of the vibe that a composer intended in every way, and then of course addressing like different types of instruments and how that was coming across, is something that I learned so much from Aoife's music, and also at the same time the complete respect of taking someone's a style that someone has had, meaning like listening to a hero in the last 70 years and replicating that as close as possible for the sheer sake of saying this is their music and I'm going to give it the most attention to the detail, kind of like in a classical sense someone would like copy Heifetz or something and say I'm paying homage during this piece and this moment to him. And I think those that juxtaposition is very beautiful and almost it's staggering in the classical world in some ways.
Well, it's funny because we do think of those things as heresies to change things, but then again, I think Mahler changed a lot of Beethoven. Yeah, let's just fix this up, and I guess Mozart was known to change keys of his arias like that if the singer demanded it. So maybe the real life
singer demanded it,
and you do demand it. Right? Okay. No, I mean Eric also just such a staggeringly eclectic and all-encompassing musician, from Silk Road to your work with the Knights and as conductor and performer in Orlando, Bridgeport. I mean, did you find you had a creative contribution to this, or were you the kind of, did you find yourself fitting into the the role of enabler here?
I love working with singers across the board. I love that there's vulnerability that exists outside of instrumental playing. Like I can have 103 fever and be very sick, and then there's something about being on stage, you somehow part the waters and you have a moment, and the vulnerability of being your own instrument, being a singer, is so beautiful because it's dangerous, and there are times when things work in different ways. And I think when working with soloists as a conductor with an orchestra, the joy of being, like, trying to be School of Fish, but not as a follower, but as a leader, you know, actually anticipating what someone needs to be their best. And that's across the board as a conductor, you know, like, oboist takes a breath. How do you figure out a way to know what that person is about to need and want to do, so that you can help everyone be on the same page, even if they can't necessarily hear that oboist's voice at that moment. And I absolutely get such joy and, like, the fear and the danger, even when a singer is not as clearly on rhythmically as AOIFE is. And to defer, I also think that in a song like this, I am kind of the minstrel, but I find it hard to, I can't remember the last time I participated in something and didn't participate and actually was a member of the process. It would be very hard for me to do otherwise. I think that would be the end of that particular thing for me. So yes, but at the same time, of course, the giving it up 100% means contributing 100%, opposed to, oh, let me just follow you. And I think it's a very different thing. And of course, Tanner, being a cellist and a singer, was certainly looking at these two roles, I think, from a very personal standpoint. So I get a sense that you wrote this in a way, like, I was trying to visualize how you might be playing something like this, which is practically a guitar part, practically a piano part, a harp part. You know, how can it feel generous, but also, you know, all the notes and all the things that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, Tanner, you being a singer, there were some questions about whether you wrote the words to the text, and of course you did. Do you want to tell us more about that process? And I think it's so fascinating that we have two singer-songwriters working together with each other and learning from each other and growing with each other in the process.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It was a treat for me to get to write this piece because in a kind of older iteration of my life, singing and playing the cello at the same time was a big compositional tool for me and a songwriting tool, and it was something that I did a lot of. And so kind of getting to sit back down at the cello and think about, performing with it was really a treat. And to think about those two instruments together. And then I think the thing that you know, for me, the compositional process of this piece felt closer to like an art song than it would for the process for, you know, like a song that's more on the pop side for me. Not that they're that much different, but I think I was thinking about this, I guess, for more of a chamber space than for a space like a, you know, a club or something. I guess the real joy of getting to write for another songwriter, especially one like you, AOIFE, is that you're a storyteller. And so I know that like whatever I give you, you're gonna find the story and tell it, and you did. And so that was really, you know, a gift. So thank you.
Thank you.
And Tanner, you know, one thing that I just noticed was that beautiful harmonic shift that happens. Can you tell us about harmony and how you think about harmony as you write a song, or whether that's an art song, a more of a pop song, or something that you might do symphonically or for chamber music? How do you think about harmony as you write, and how does it help you tell whatever story you're telling as you write?
That's a very good question. Something that I'm still figuring out for myself. Ask me again in maybe like 20 years and I'll have probably a better response for you. But I think one of my favorite things, which is something that I did in this song, I really love the moments where the harmony fills in the emotional color of the text. So you have like the singer or the instrumentalist sustain a note, and then the harmony changes underneath that note. And so there's stuff that's being said kind of beneath the surface that maybe the singer doesn't really know that they're saying it, but the instrumentalist is telling the audience that there's something else happening.
And then at the end of the piece, you do that. That's sort of just such an emotional, not even a climax, but more of like it's like a moment of reflection for me, just holding that note and the harmonics that Eric's playing underneath. I think that's so beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I love finding the relationship between all the different elements of the piece, basically the relationships, I like finding the ways to tell the story in a nuanced way. And I think harmony is just another, tool in that. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but.
No, absolutely. I just think it's interesting. Harmony is one of those things that it's kind of hard to talk about because it's often the underpinning. It's like what Eric was talking about the performer who's, he's outlining a lot of the bass and the chords. And so he's finding some of those things that are changing underneath what might be a static melodic note. And that energizes it with, as you said, maybe without even realizing it, we're going through different moods and different emotions, even hearing one note. I like to think of Cole Porter as a composer who uses harmony sometimes, on one note, and then the harmony changes under that one note, and you suddenly feel so differently. Just hearing that. That's how I felt in your piece. I don't know, would you go to like F sharp minor or something? I'm not sure where it goes, but it suddenly it takes you right out of the key, and you almost feel unmoored for a second as you hear that, and then you get used to it, and then you're back. So it's a moment. How does it feel to sing those moments, Aoife?
I think that this piece is really interesting because it kind of has the two sections, but then there are these little mini sections that happen. That's at least how I'm thinking of it. There's the sort of the main da 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 that little theme, and then the ba ba, but then the little parts in between that kind of glue them together. My favorite part of the song is the part where she sings, where I sing, I guess, that Lila, if you need a line to reel you in, I'm here. Tell me what you're feeling. Because if you think of it with the lyrics, that little sentence is almost just, it's so trying to coax it out of somebody. And I feel like you put that coaxing feeling into the music in such a beautiful way that's always what I'm looking for. And when I'm hearing a song or listening to a song is sometimes as a songwriter, you have an idea that you want to say, and it's not necessarily a bridge. And it's not necessarily, at least for me, as somebody who writes more kind of traditional song structures, but to be able to kind of throw these little ideas in there, and they never have to come back, but they're just so helping propel the lyric along. And really, to me as a singer and as kind of the deliverer of the text, helps me to kind of say, okay, I know I'm embodying this character now, kind of on both sides. So
thank you all for those very kind words.
Is this going to evolve into something bigger? I had the idea that this might be the first stage of something. I don't want to force anything. I don't want to. Hey.
We're definitely planning a collaboration on some songs that I will be writing and Tanner will be orchestrating, and kind of we're working in tandem that way. But I see a comment here from Ed Yims asking me if Eric and I have been able to collaborate during this time, and we have. But we're also looking for new repertoire. We're planning some socially distant, even live events this fall, and I think because we're obviously in a pod with Eric's brother Colin. We've been able to play a lot of music, also with our housemate, who's a great musician and songwriter, Sky Steele. And it's been really cool to kind of get to have these. We've lived together, obviously, for years, but this is the most music we've ever played together. We've never played music with Sky, who was in our house, and just sort of having these kind of circles on Sunday nights where people are bringing charts and we're really making music. Yes, this is a really crazy and very hard time for so many of us, but I think just trying to look at what we have and trying to really sink into that and enjoy it has been really important for us. And hopefully this piece, Lila, You're Not Alone, we will be able to perform many times going forward. And we're so thankful to Augusta Rose and Leslie Samuels for the commission, and to the American Composers Orchestra, and to the whole thing, just for making it happen. It's really special for us.
I'll say that it's been so special getting to play with Aoife and Colin Jacobsen, my brother, more in the last 4 months as a cellist than, say, in the last few years. I had a total existential crisis 6 years ago when I made a statement to myself And actually, the conversation I had with my father was probably the hardest one, which was like, I'm going to leave Brooklyn Rider, the string quartet that I played in cello for 10 years, and I'm just going to put my energy, the energy that I've put into cello over the last X amount of years, I'm going to now shift into conducting 100%, or the most. So right now, being able to spend the time back with the instrument is very beautiful and also bittersweet. Like Tanner, listening to you, and then just when you were demonstrating Tanner's song just now, I was going to Mahler, maybe because you put his name in my head, Derek, and I was thinking of when will that day be that we can do that again? And yet at the same time, of course, this is so special. So yeah, and all the things Aoife said, thank you to everyone who made this possible. ACO is doing amazing work. This is so special to get to connect. We feel so honored to be a part.
Likewise.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much, and thanks to everybody for joining us too. We've launched now officially Volume 3 of Connecting ACO Community. You were the launch. And so for more info, you can go to the website to find out what's coming next. I can tell you the next week is going to be very, very special because it's going to be Aaron Deal performing a new work by Wynton Guess.
Yeah.
So, I'm really looking forward to that, having known those two very fine musicians for a long time. And so thank you to everybody. Please stay safe, stay well, and we look forward to seeing you next week and in the future.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
This will be at Music on the Rebound. If you want to catch it, for those people who weren't able to catch it, it'll be up on the internets somewhere. Try to catch it there. You can take a look at the support ACO. We've got a little banner there for you if you feel so inclined and want to reach into your coffers and cough up some donations. But we loved having you, and thanks. Please come next week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.